You're watching Power Nation.
Last time you saw us working on Project Leadfoot, we went ahead, got our lift kit installed, along with a new rear axle and some modifications to the front.
We also got the roll cage installed and painted that and the axles with some P.O.R. 15.
Today, we're gonna be getting our entire drivetrain installed, starting with this absolutely beautiful 460 cubic inch big block that we got from Pat and Frankie down in Engine Power.
All that and more on Dirt and Trails. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we are gonna cut off these old motor mounts and make way for the new ones. There we go. Now that that's off, I'm gonna start fabricating the frame side motor mounts to get that 460 mounted. I got my cardboard CAD done, and as you can see, I got two different patches here. This little guy here is the first way you can do it. Make a patch to fill the hole, weld it in, and you're good to go. Would it work? 100%, but that's not what we're gonna do. What I wanna do is make a bigger patch. Reason for that is it's gonna cover the top, all the way down the side, so I'm gonna have strength in two different planes, and it's gonna give me a larger area to put the motor mounts for the motor. Oh, that's better. The material's going red. That's exactly when you want to start bending it. So you got to have everything ready. And now, you sit here. I need a hammer. Now I'm going to do the same thing down here, just below those tacks, and just keep working it in. Because if I weld it with this tension on it, what's gonna happen, it's gonna wanna pull against itself. And if I'm welding and one of the tacks lets go, it's just gonna be a pain in the butt. There we go. All right. Next up, I'm gonna work in biggest patch to smallest. So now I'm gonna bend on this line here, get everything folded over, tack, 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 and then this guy here should still be up. I'm gonna do that guy last. All right, now you need to be careful when you're throwing this much heat into that plate. It's going to want to form easily. I mishit right here and hit into the hole that's behind it, and the material boom, deformed a little bit. It's not the end of the world. It's not gonna look great, but once we get that big block on top of it, nobody's gonna see it. Something that happens when these plates are cooling down is they're gonna wanna spring back into their original position a little bit. And that's exactly what happened on the top of this passenger side plate. I thought I could get away without tacking these corners. I was wrong. So I'm gonna come back, heat it up, tack it, and then I can weld that out completely, move over to the driver's side, weld it out. So right now I'm gonna be working on the front side of the motor mounts. Why? Because I'm gonna be building off of the K-member that is in there, which is gonna give me lots of strength, lots of stability, and it is going to give me a great starting point to then build the back side of the motor mounts. We'll get to that in a minute. Right now, let's talk about the front. I started with just a piece of 2-inch DOM tubing that I pulled out of the scrap bin. I then went over to the plasma table and found just a plain old puck from who knows what project, and then I welded it up. Then what I did was I just cut a little pie slice out like this. Now when you put the bolt in, you can actually get in there a little bit with your fingers, but more importantly, you can see what you're doing. We need to create some legs that come off of this to mount to the K-member. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this plate here and I'm just gonna tack it on the ends. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna hold it in place, let me go over there and make sure that this is at the right angle. I might do one in the middle now that I'm thinking out loud, and then we'll go test fit. Let's get to it. How far over do we have to go?
Where it's sitting now is where it needs to be.
Okay.
I think what happened is once you took the tabs off of that motor mount on that side, it allowed it to shift because we were using those tabs to hold it in place.
Yeah. What if the whole motor went up a little bit? My hands are good. A little bit more.
How's that?
Right there.
Okay. I don't want to go any higher than that, so that works out.
In that case then, I'm gonna bring over the welder. I'll tack this in position.
All right, perfect. You need a hand there, or you got it? Snack time.
You and your snacks.
We got this core support and radiator both from Summit Racing, and as you can probably tell, it is not anything close to what we pulled out, but that's okay, because this is for a 92 to 96 diesel on the core support and an 83 to 94 diesel with the radiator. Now, this actually bolts into our factory location on our frame, so we don't have to worry about doing any modifying or anything like that to make it fit. Now, the radiator itself is part of Summit Racing's classic OEM radiator line. Now, that is gonna give us top performance cooling, all while not having to worry about modifying anything on the core support side. Now, these radiators are offered in various styles and sizes to fit your engine bay and your needs. If you're looking for one and you need something that's not gonna break the bank but still give you the best performance possible, make sure to check them out. But for the time being, all we need this for is to get it mocked up and make sure we've got clearance for our fans later on. Didn't move. And that works because we're still looking, we're just a little bit off kilter this way. But now that we've got that in, I think we can use that to hinge down and that'll help lower the top of the engine a little bit too. I don't think we're off by much. I mean, this isn't gonna be 100% accurate, but that's about 2 degrees, which not a whole lot, but we can definitely take up for that once we get this side fitted.
Now that this is done, I'm gonna move on to the driver's side. Now that this is all tacked in place, you can see I have this big gap right here. I have to fill that. I'm gonna plate that in later on, but for right now, this is perfect so we can keep the train rolling. I mean, you scratch the paint off the bell housing.
Ah, man, we gotta start over.
Now that that's done, I am going to just start welding her out, get her done. Now that we have the front part of the motor mounts built, fabricated, welded in their forever home, we're gonna move to the back. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Chris, you built all of this, it's 100% beef. Is that good enough? No, it's not. Because you gotta remember, that motor, it's pushing out 600 plus horsepower, okay? The torque that that's gonna create is going to twist everything. We need to put this into what is called double shear. So if you have a bolt, all right, that's a perfect example right there. Eventually what's gonna happen is that bolt's gonna bend, and then everything down the line is gonna get screwed up, it's gonna be pulled out of alignment. You don't want that. You want it in double shear, so no matter what, it is good to go. For right now, we're gonna work on the back end of this, and this is how we're gonna start. I have my cardboard, and I have the cardboard template from when I made this filler plate, all right? What I think I'm really gonna do is go off the bottom of this K-member here. It's wide, it's super strong, and it's gonna be more than enough beef for what we need. I wish I was shorter. I could just walk out of here. These drill bits could be used as a deburring tool. So you see how on the top side here, I just kiss the surface with the next size up. But on the back side, we have all these burrs. We don't want that. So you just take this, that's all you do. Just enough to knock the burrs off, chamfer the corner a little bit, and you're rocking and rolling. Eric loves doing brake lines. So doing this with the stock ones actually is doing him a big favor and is letting him be more creative. Friends, there's a lower lip that you can't see on here, and I want the bottom of this to sit right in the corner of it. It's the strongest part of this section, so we're gonna utilize that. I think what I'm gonna do is just bend it just slightly below the joint itself. While I'm there, I like the amount that I have sticking up above the motor mount, so I'm just gonna bend that in the opposite direction. Nothing crazy, like 10 degrees at the most, and then we're gonna get rocking and rolling. So right now, this material is sitting in that corner where I want it, but as you can see, I'm not even close to the edge of the bolt, let alone where I want it to be. So I'm just gonna start off with a 1/2 inch and take that off. And then just keep working my way back like that. And the closer I get to where I want to be, I'll start taking less and less off. This is going to be a tedious process, but this is how you get things dialed in. Does it sit flat against the back here? No, it doesn't. That means I bent this too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a rubber mallet, hit the back side of that bend, and it's going to open this up a little bit more, allow me to walk this in. I'm actually gonna bolt this up. Now we have two main things that we had to worry about, that bolt hole location and the bottom of that plate lined up where we want them. Now we're gonna start zeroing in on our final design. So I finished up the driver's side rear engine mount, and I did it as its own assembly over on the table. It's all welded out and ready to go in. I'm gonna tack it in here with the Forney welder. And one thing I want to point out, when you're doing stuff like this and you need bushings to be able to go in and out, always give yourself a little spacer. So I used a 1/8 washer on both sides. Now we're gonna move over onto the passenger side. It's more or less the same thing. However, I did have to box the frame a little bit to give me something to mount off of. Plated in the back, simple bend with some material here, and then another simple bend. It is gonna go in here more or less like that, and then I'll weld her all in and we'll be good to go. Where's my helmet? That side's tacked in, ready to be welded out. This side's tacked in. I am not ready to weld it out completely yet. I have to do this in steps. This back plate, I want to weld that to the K-member, and then I got to do that from the inside. So if I put this in, I'm not going to have enough room. So I'm going to undo this bolt here, pull out the motor mount, give myself a little bit more real estate. I got it set to the welder relatively hot. This way I can do a quick, fast downhand weld, get it in there nice and hot, good penetration, because penetration is key when you're welding. And then I might do a little stitch on the inside on the bottom here. Once that's done, this guy will go in and we're good to go. Now with the passenger side done, I'm gonna move over onto the driver's side, pull out the motor mount, weld it in place, and then keep moving forward from there. Now I need to let that cool down as well so I can weld the inside, because everywhere I'm gonna rest my hands to get stability is gonna be hot. Welding produces heat, just in case you didn't know. All right, now we are moving on to the Crossmember for the transmission. I'm gonna take some inspiration from the motor mounts and carry that through the rest of the vehicle, and we are left with these guys. These are the frame side mounts for the transmission mount. What's gonna happen is these are gonna get welded out, but right now what I need to do is weld this to this, like this. This is 120 wall. This here is 3/8. By the time this is ready to start welding, so it has liquefied a little bit, this is gonna be on its way out the door, and it's gonna be a tough dance to do. So a good cheat is you sit there and you get yourself a propane torch, throw some heat into the part first. What I like to do is I'll grind the mill scale off like I have here. And then once that starts turning like a straw color, that's when I know, okay, this is good to weld. All right, now that we have these made up, let me show you where we're actually gonna put them on the truck. I'm gonna have to sit here and plate the frame. Somewhere underneath the cab, the transmission mount is gonna live, as well as the transfer case mount is gonna live. The issue is where, because I don't wanna box just one small spot. You got 600 horsepower under the hood. The frame needs to be able to take it, along with the weight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crawl underneath, I'm going to plate underneath the entire cab. So when we do go to mount these, I got tons of real estate to put it on wherever I want. So what we need to do is this section of frame is where we're gonna box it in. I need to remove this bracket, which is one of the original cross members, this exhaust hanger. Then I'm gonna take some cardboard, put it on there, trace it, and then it's gonna be a bunch of in and out, testing, fitting, all that good stuff. But then we'll get going from there. Let's go. All right, I spent a little bit of time under the truck doing a little bit of cardboard CAD. I have everything transferred over onto some 3/16 plate. Now I'm going to run it through the bandsaw, get it all ready to go, and then we'll go put it into the vehicle. I want to cut out these details here. I'm cutting this out on the bandsaw. Could I switch over to a plasma cutter? 100%, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to cut all the straights and then over, across, and then just keep doing that over and over again. And then I'll come back with a flap wheel on the grinder and just bevel it all out. You can cut radiuses and arcs with a bandsaw, but a lot of it depends on the thickness of the blade and how deep it is. So this is a 1/16 wide blade and a 1/2 inch deep. It's a 3-inch radius I want to cut, and it's just going to bind up, and I'll either break the blade, and this is a brand new blade, so I don't want to do that, it's good and sharp, or it's just going to bind the blade, which once again isn't what we want. So I'm just going to sit there and just slowly take pie cuts out, and then smooth it out with the other thing. On this side here, it was like really big pie cuts. And then on this side here, I went in straight, and then I was able to cut pretty close to the curve itself. On this side here, I had a lot more meat I needed to remove. So those big pie cuts got it done faster. With that there, as I cut into it from the side, following the arc that I wanted to remove, every time I met an adjoining vertical cut, a piece of material would fall out. What this was doing was then freeing up the back side of the blade so I could cut that nice tight arc. The thing to remember is this truck is from '94, so nothing is going to be 100% straight. There's a few little bends here, but it's nothing that I'm concerned about. This fits nice. So my next step that I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna grind, clean the inside of the weld. So I'm gonna do a 2-inch weld, an inch gap, 2-inch weld, inch gap, 2-inch, all the way along. And what that's gonna do, it's called a stitch weld. It's going to minimize the amount of heat that goes into this, stop any extra warping, and it'll just speed things up. Another point to make, and it's one of those things that anytime you do a weld, it's a great habit to get into, is wrap your corners, okay? And I'm not talking well up to the edge and then reposition and then go over here and then wrap it. No, if you can sit there and in one motion go all the way around and come down, you're gonna have a stronger weld. Reason being, the force that it's gonna take to actually pull this plate off is gonna be through the roof to begin with. But in some applications, if you don't do that, it's gonna be easier for this weld to start cracking at the edge than any other one of these welds. So, wrap your corners, it's gonna look better, it's gonna be stronger, and it's just good practice welding in uncomfortable positions.
Well, now that Chris has all this super awesome fab work done to get our engine and transmission mounted in here, we're gonna go ahead and protect it with some P.O.R 15. Now this stuff is a permanent coating. It's gonna make sure that it is protected from rust for the life of this truck. Now this is a 3-stage process, so you're gonna wanna start with their cleaner degreaser, wipe everything down, let it dry, then you're gonna move on to your metal prep. Now this is an etching compound, and what this is gonna do is it's gonna create a better surface for that P.O.R to actually bite into, so it does actually become permanent. So what you do with this is you go ahead and you either brush or spray it on, keep your surface wet for 15 to 20 minutes, then once that's done, you're gonna wash it off with water, then you're ready to move on and actually get the P.O.R done. Now, while Chris was getting everything on the truck side prepped, I was over here getting our transmission ready to be installed to our engine. Normally, this is a pretty straightforward process, but as you can probably guess, this isn't exactly a factory combination, taking a 385 series big block and mating it to a Tremec TR450. This adapter plate that came with the kit ended up being just a little bit too narrow. So we had to add in a little bit of extra distance, so I went ahead and made my own spacer plate out of some 3/16 steel. Now that we've got everything ready to go, we've got our bell housing run out measured and we know that we're good there, we're gonna leave the clutch and flywheel out for the time being just to get some fitment done, because we can go ahead and do the clutch measurements and install once it's in the truck. So our first step here is we gotta get our adapter plate and our spacer installed onto the bell housing. Now this is pretty straightforward. Since we're only using 3/16 plate as our spacer, we don't have to worry about the length of the bolts. We're still gonna have plenty of engagement into these threads.
Okay, hold it there. Come straight. Whoa, 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 too fast, too fast.
All right, so now that this is actually attached, all we've got left to do is get those 4 bolts torqued down, switch our cherry picker to the engine side, and go ahead and test fit it again.
I'm gonna tighten that up just ever so slightly.
All right, I'm gonna start dropping the tail end. What is this?
I got sick and tired of playing with, we're trying to do stuff with springs in the way, so.
So take the lines out.
I did take them out of the way.
There's a right way, there's a wrong way, and then there's
the
and then
marine
there's that
way.
way. There's
There's
that
the
way. I don't
marine
even know what to
way.
call that.
I'm just trying to
Just-
embrace.
Let's just get this done. Drop her on down.
Drop her down.
We got a ton of work done today, but that's all we got for you guys this week. Catch you next time.